I'm going to start recording this time before launching the game. Pay attention to the upper left. 833 344. So I'm going to be, on that note, I'm going to be talking about the file system puzzles somewhat at the beginning of this recording. I haven't done anything with the notes on the chalkboard in this background yet. That's actually the CG. Let me try to find the background. Yeah, so this is the, let's see here. Starts on an A, starts on an E. So E major, and it's starting on the 6th, which is somewhat bizarre. I'm just really not very good at sight reading singing. So I would have to get a bassoon out or something to, so that I can have a really good idea of what that sounds like, which might give you some idea of what my intonation tends to be like. Living life in the 21st century without a keyboard is somewhat limiting. So as my life goes on, I'm experiencing exceeding pressure to buy one to keep up with what I'm trying to do all the time. So, also, I believe there was a new email that appeared when I finished the fourth side story that I didn't read. So here it is. Simply put, it's not our job to arbitrarily decide upon some code of ethics just because we're the first ones to do this. To our knowledge, that's the government's job to figure out long after we've made enough headway for it to no longer apply to us. It's fundamentally flawed to apply ethical reasoning to this anyway, because humanity's code of ethics is based upon nothing more than our knowledge and understanding of life forms similar to ourselves. We don't have ethics for killing bacteria or plants, only for creatures that we can convincingly project our emotions onto. The humans in our virtual machines operate completely differently from us on a fundamental level, and therefore should not be taken any more seriously than a machine that's programmed to print, "I feel sad." We are engineers, not philosophers. Paula Miner, project manager. Not very well thought through, but okay. I also noticed that they unlock from bottom to top, but the dates progress from top to bottom on the emails. So as you unlock more emails, you unlock emails sent earlier in time. So you're going back down the timeline. So this "Have a nice weekend" is the latest email, which oddly is named for that file that appears in your file system when right after Yuri kills herself and you're staring at her dead body. Another odd thing is that these are all sent at 12:06 a.m., which is very bizarre server behavior. And for most of these, the date at which they are sent is listed, but this one doesn't have a date listed on the outside, just the time, but it is sent on December 8th, so it would be sent on 12/8. These are also sent exactly one day apart from each other, even though people usually email on a random schedule. So what's special about the time 12:06? Well, I'll get to that, but I haven't actually figured it out yet. But there might be reason to believe that the time 12:06 is special. I haven't found it. I've tried it, it hasn't worked. So, my first experience with the file system puzzle. So, if I go into files, there'll be a file called. So, I've already looked at in some previous recording the insecure directory. There's a file called Meeting Notes 1. And it goes like this: updated development timeline, new tasks, test cases for a new genetic model. So, genetic model is where you basically have like a bunch of variations on something randomly generated. You compare them in a pairwise fashion. The one that performs the best wins in the pair. So, it's like a tournament to find the best of something where it's hard to tell, like where you're doing like random trials. And you can also combine features to get together of the best ones. There's more complicated ways to do a genetic algorithm. I know it says genetic model, not genetic algorithm. I think I may have got them a little bit mixed up. Anyway, server time. There's a lot of like buzzwords thrown around in these files that are not really to be taken literally. They're supposed to make it sound all sciencey, but they're not real science. Server time optimization idea, automatic data collection, data migration to encrypted file share on Monday, virtual machine 2 roadblocks, row on virtual machine 2, everyone else on virtual machine 1 for data collection. Ideas for data search types, visual renders, audio data, virtual machine environment changes, persistent variable tampering and the timestamps, I guess at which they are tampered, parsing through patterns. No, excessive server time would be needed to do that. The meeting went over time. You know who went on too many tangents again. I need to be more assertive about staying focused. So I don't know who this is. It might be Paula, because Paula seems to be in charge of this group as we read more of these. Yeah. And see, I got the tower keys yet. I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, poem words. Okay, where we got this, where I got started. So let's look into poem words. So these are the lists of words and how many points they apply to each character if you choose them. So Sayori's words are the ones that give Sayori 3 points, but they can also give they can bias between Natsuki and Yuri. For example, tragedy is more of a Yuri word if not Sayori, and sadness is more of a Natsuki word if not Sayori. And it's pretty even split between where the 2 and where the 1 goes. I think there's 80 something words here. 1, this is 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28. 32. Well, I didn't count these right. There's somewhere in the 80s of words. There's fewer Natsuki words and Yuri words than there are Sayori words. Natsuki's words more often tend to default to being Sayori, tend to go more Sayori if not Natsuki. And most of the Yuris are ones, with some exceptions, of course. And then Yuri's words, again, they tend to go Sayori if not Natsuki. And for Natsuki, there's some exceptions, of course. That tends to be 1. So a lot of them, oddly, with Yuri have no preference. So there's some like vitality, which give you a 3 for Yuri and only 1, which is basically the same as 0 because the minimum is none. It might as well be 0, 1, and 2 as opposed to 1, 2, and 3. For wait, 113, is that a file? No, it's not. Okay, just making sure. Seeming like the game developer would be like, well, we have no idea who would use this word except Yuri. But when there is a 2, it tends to be on Sayori. There are some exceptions, like Vibrant and Question are on Natsuki. Now, hidden amongst all these is this 915130. Something odd about this is that that's not a word, that's a time. And there's a 0 here, which is not found in any of these other lists of 3 numbers. But you know that in the file system, there are zeros underneath internal. So there are some zeros here. So if you go 130 here, 130, you find meeting notes 2.txt. And if you try to open this, you'll get an error. So how do you open it? Well, I'm going to pull something here. So we're going to open. Oh, I should have navigated through here. G-Litter Game Recordings DDLC Plus. Meeting Notes 2. And then I'm going to go to my OBS and I'm going to reveal the scene. So how you do it is you take the timestamp and you try to make it so that what the clock says in the lower right corner is equal to that timestamp. Now, the clock in the lower right, it synchronizes to your computer's clock in Windows. But it only does so on starting of the game. So if you change the clock time while the game is running, it won't change in the game. You have to exit the game, change the clock, and then reopen the game, and then it will synchronize with whatever your clock was. So last time I played a game like this, it was Metro Nui Online, the Metro Nui Online game. And it only had a distinction between day, dusk, night, and dawn. But most importantly, like the dusk and the dawn were just part of day, was the most important distinctions were day and night, because certain characters would be there in the day, not in the night, and you could do certain things like go into the Canyon of Unending Whispers in the night, but not in the day. Anyway, so I had to move so I wouldn't just wait till the night to do the things you can only do at night. I would change the clock on my computer to some time zone like Vietnam or something, so that the game would think it was nighttime where it was. So you could do that. You can cheat, I guess, and you can do that here, and you could mess with your clock, but you have to keep exiting out of the game and messing with the clock and making it 2 minutes before where you want it to be and opening up the game again and so on. Trying to get the right timestamp to open these. So, meeting notes 2, you have to have it at 9:15. It doesn't care if it's AM or PM, 9:15. At 9:15, if you open meeting notes 2 will open, and only at that time. This is what meeting notes 2 says. Lib, promising work on recording simulation activity into playable script. Playable is the observable form, not a game. Stay focused, Ive. And if you remember, Ive was the person who sent the email. We'll go back to the emails, but sent the email. It was like, I noticed someone made a Twitter for Monica. And I actually did go back and look at Monica's Twitter, and the last tweet I think was from July, and it was, I've been feeling nostalgic. That was 2021. So she has still been tweeting into 2021. So it's mildly still active. Anyway. Pretending to type important things while waiting for everyone to get back on topic. 4:30, still target end time. Assigning names to simulated entities for easier reference. A, B, C, and D should suffice. Well, in the end, they turned out to be Sayori, Natsuki, Yuri, and Monica. 1, 2, and 3. Using real names only encourages treating them like pets rather than simulated entities. Well, we all know what they ended up doing, didn't we? Everyone is trying to come up with stupid names now, and we all know what they came up with, don't we? Control simulation. Create identical virtual machine without entity A having elevated access permissions. So identity A is Monica. And that yields the control simulation, which is another name for the side stories. Seems unlikely. Nothing has come close so far. So you can kind of get some idea after reading all these what that means. Like, that might mean that trying to make something that's playable without elevating one of their permissions. They haven't been able to do that, is what I would get from that. Which kind of makes sense, right? The side stories are not playable. You can only just read them. You can't actually make decisions inside of them. Clone Virtual Machine 1. Same elevated access, but prevent the entity from discovering it. So I presume Virtual Machine 1 is ordinary Doki Doki Literature Club. Seems tricky, but plausible. Meeting over time, and then some keyboard mashing. So in here we see 1, 2, and 3, and our timestamp is 4:30. So I was doing good so far. So I went to 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to hide this scene now. Go back to the game. So 1, 2, 3. And here we have track 6 name ideas.txt. And this will, as you could probably guess, only open when the clock says 4:30. So, well, what happens if you, let me see, I'm going to open up that in Paint. I took a screenshot, I took a print screen of this as well. I did print screens, I didn't want to bother changing my clocks while doing this recording. That would have been awkward. So I'm going to open Track 6 names. Okay, name ideas. So, Operation Not a Game. Maybe this was written by Ive. Oh, by Ive. Yep. I could just read the next line. Um, Wait a second. Do I have a scene? Oh no, I don't. You don't. You can't even see it. Okay, now you can see it. Um, Operation Not a Game by Ive Laster. Control simulation track number 6 name ideas. Work together, discussion time, debate time, brainstorm, listen up, teamwork time, let's discuss, let's teamwork, I'll handle it, leader, take the lead. Text face names, maybe for another track. 030 W face, ooh face. So these sound like soundtrack track names. But the only one that sounds really similar to is Okay Everyone. And that's not the 6th track, if you were wondering. This also says Control Simulation, which implies the side stories, which means it's not the. I'll hide. It's not the Dan Salvato, it's the Nikki tracks. I'll look up the name again when we look back at the tracks. So. And then. Yeah, that's about it. Now, I've looked at the. I'm going to hide this now. I'm going to go back to the game and I'm going to look at the soundtracks. Look at the music. One idea I had is maybe. We obviously we have a code, right? 030, but we also need a timestamp. Maybe it's the 6th one. Maybe it's Poem Panic. Maybe it's 228. Actually, I haven't tried that one. That would be a good shot to try. Maybe it's Okay Everyone, because that is a similar name to the sound, like the names that are brainstorming. 304. I did try that one. It doesn't work. Maybe I count the 6th one in they at least have I have so far of the side story tracks. So, for example, oops, copyright. So, hopefully that was short enough that I won't get a copyright claim. Da da ding 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 ding. Anyway, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Dusk's the 6th one I have. That's 141. By the way, that timestamp doesn't work if you're wondering. I should try 228. I've also tried things like 6:30 and 12:06, specifically AM, and 12:30. Just because colon 30. Also, 12:06 is the time all the emails are sent. And none of them worked. So I'm basically trying taking the minutes and seconds of sound. This would be easy to list to brute force because there's only 24 in here. Tried like soundtrack length, minutes and seconds, and turning them into hours and minutes. I've tried 12:06, 6:30, 12:30. I haven't been able to figure out a timestamp that will allow me to open whatever's at 030, which I haven't actually gone there yet. So it's meeting notes 3. Yeah, so meeting notes 3. I haven't been able to figure out how to open this. So I haven't figured out how to read a timestamp out of track 06 name ideas, which is what gives you the code for meeting notes 3. So for meeting notes 3, I'm stuck. I haven't figured out how to open it. So that's something that I have to figure out later. I don't know. I'm just stuck on this one. So what did I do next? Well, I forget exactly the order, but there's the order I'm going to present things. If at the opening of the game, you're given a code 344 and a timestamp 833. And if we go to 344, I'm not going back far enough. 3, 4, 4. We have this one called mes.text. And again, you have to have a specific timestamp in order to open it. So I'm just going to open it in Paint. And show you this. So this is what this is the code and the timestamp from the opening of the game. I presume MES stands for Metaverse Enterprises or something. Infrastructure, software, communication systems. We understand the modern day challenges of running an enterprise company with efficiency and reliability. That's why you can count on us to get the job done, so you can focus on the business that matters most. With world-class engineering and industry-leading specialists, Metaverse Enterprise Solutions will Metaverse Enterprise Solutions, okay. Will always deliver solutions that last. Cost per year analysis shows that the Metaverse solution saves up to 30% in the long run. And our flexible support model ensures that quality can be delivered at the price point that is right for your company's size. Your time is valuable. That's why from planning to design to installation, our experts do the work for you. Filling out our simple questionnaire is all it takes for our team to recommend the right plan and provide an affordable quote. Excellence is right around the corner. With solutions you can count on and experts you can trust, this is our promise to you. You're in good company. And if you open this, you get a Steam achievement called Stonks. So, not much interesting in there. So let's see here. That's meeting notes 2, track 06 name ideas, and mes.text. Let's look at the next one. So if we go into the backup and then we go to system, we have a bunch of these files that you can't open. But if you try to open the very last one, tower keys. So I did this in part 0. Right now, again, part 0. When at the time of uploading this, part 0 is unlisted, but it is part of a playlist on my channel called Doki Literature Club Plus. So you can watch it by clicking on the playlist. It's just, I'm trying to kind of limit the views somewhat on that. It got copyrighted because of Real Reality. I emailed one of the collection societies that claimed it. They said they lifted the claim, but I haven't seen it been lifted yet. Anyway. So it gives you a code 221 and a clock time 240. It even suggests you what it is. Key pair 1 is gear, and this is a key pair. Key pair 2 is boat. Key pair 3 is spaceship, and key pair 4 they don't know. But I don't know what these have to do with. Gear doesn't have anything to do with 240 and 221. But I guess you could call a timestamp and code combination a key pair. And you use tower rotation to find these key pairs, whatever tower rotation means. So we go to 221, 221, and we have project plan.txt. And again, this only opens if you have the right timestamp. Right now it doesn't because my clock says 7:12. So we're going to have to open a screenshot I took at the right timestamp. This is project plan. Yes, it's project plan. Okay, this one you have to scroll. So here's the top of it. High-level overview. Create human-readable version of Fabric benchmark results. Oh, I haven't made it visible. Sorry. There we go. Now it's visible. Create human-readable version of Fabric benchmark results, suggesting we live in a simulated universe. Emulate Fabric benchmark results in virtualized environment. Build parameters for genetic iterations. Custom elevated access levels for one or more entities. Iterate until simulation is stable for target time threshold. This is our small-scale simulated universe. Observe effects of elevated access knowledge of simulation. Collect, record data, pitch findings to upper management as a profitable venture. Note, do not go through Barry. Go straight to upper management. 8. Get promoted. Jobs saved. And then let's open the lower. What happens if you scroll down? So, possible team members row has most knowledge and access to Commander Quantum Server. Ravi, second to row. Lib, fix naming scheme conflict with lib folder. We don't know anything else about Libby besides her name conflicts with lib. And on Windows, file names tend to be not not case sensitive in some ways. That's kind of understandable. I've, sure, why not? I've is kind of the brunt of jokes, apparently. Others? Question? Um, Virtual Machine 1 um, details. Literature is the production of text assets, easy data collection. 4 entities, characters. Small physical space, efficient for server and genetic iterations. Highly elevated access permissions creates very stable connection window for data collection in exchange for less realistic simulated scenarios. So what I'm getting from this plan is the idea is in order for you to be able, for some reason, I don't know why, in order for you to be able to collect data about the simulation, you have to create a player character who can go in there and collect the data. Now this seems wrong already because the control simulation, which is the side stories, there is no player character. But somehow I, the player in the real world, can still observe. So maybe that's just like author power to be able to write the game so that I can observe it, whereas the characters in universe, Ro, Ravi, Lib, and Ive can't, or they have to observe it some other way. But they were, according to the emails, they were able to get some information out of the control simulation. They also seem oddly wondering why a character disappears in the control simulation as opposed to the main one. But according to these notes, it seems like they understand that it is somehow the elevation of one of the character's permissions that creates the player character. Why elevating a character's permission would create the player character? Well, that's just suspension of disbelief. Dan Salvato, who wrote this, probably doesn't know either. So, in order for there to be a player character, which would make the simulation observable, then they need to elevate one of the entity's permissions. But when they elevate one of the entity's permissions, that makes the simulation unstable, meaning that that entity kills all the other characters, as we have seen in Virtual Machine 1. So they're trying to iterate on this, trying to figure out a way to elevate one of the character's permissions while the game is still stable and still continues. In other words, they're trying to make a fan game. That's like the idea. So the control is no elevation. The game, which we call Virtual Machine 1, is elevating Monica's permissions, but failing to be able to hide to her that you've elevated her permissions, and so she is making it unstable. They're trying to figure out a way to make it so that you get a player character, but it's still stable. Once they do, they want to pitch it to upper management and see if they can make that into a venture. I don't know why that would make any money. I mean, it would make a good video game, but they keep emphasizing in here that it's not a game. It's a observable form of the simulation, not a game. Even though everything about it is like a game. So those in total are all of the text files that I was able to unblock. Hopefully I remember to include all of those screenshots. Those were, of course, Meeting Notes 2 is a freebie. Meeting Notes 1 is a freebie. Meeting Notes 2, Track 6 name ideas, mes.txt, and projectplan.txt. If there's only 6 by 6 to the third power, file combinations. There's actually fewer, I'll get to that. So it's within only about 10 minutes, you can brute force through all of these to find other text files, even if you haven't found the codes yet. So, I forgot. Mail. Okay, who's responsible for creating a Twitter account for Monica? I think it's hilarious, but for lowercase god sake, don't tell Paula. Ha 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 ha. This is written by Ive. It would get 404'd in a microsecond. Are you just relaying her tweets automatically, or did you code some kind of pass-through layer to automate it? Based on the contents of the tweets, e.g. not screaming for help, I assume they're coming from the control simulation. If you go into the files and you do 404, you find ddlc.txt. Because I don't know the timestamp, I think I've tried 1206 for this. I don't know how to open it. Maybe I should try again 1206 just to make sure. That's the timestamp you would think of immediately. And then there's one more I found by brute forcing. And that is 501. So, so this is the only one I didn't find by finding the code. This is the one that I found by brute forcing. It's called 14.txt. And 14 on the music tracks list has linked to 243. Timestamp 243 doesn't work. So haven't found a timestamp to open this yet either. So ddlc.txt and 14.txt and meeting notes 3.txt still elude me. So I managed to get 4 of them open, but I still, of the 7 that are hidden in here, but I still have 3 that I haven't been able to open yet. Something else that's interesting. There are some of these combinations are missing. So for example, 1, 5, where'd the 1 go? There's no 151. It just goes from 0 to 2, skips 1. Another one that's missing is 420 or 420. There's no 0. And lastly, 545 is missing. There's no 5. Don't know what that means. Don't know if I can use those as timestamps. But those numbers are missing. So, don't know what's going on there. So that's it, I hope, for the file system game, the real game, right? Doki Doki Literature Club is not a game about moe and cute characters and their friendships and interactions. DDLC is a game about exploring the file system and discovering Easter eggs. It's much more like Welcome to the Game than it is like Never 7, actually. Now, if you were asked to list the characters of DDLC Plus, you would list characters like Paula and Ro and Lib and Ive and Ray. Those are the characters of DDLC Plus. I actually still haven't looked on the staff page and seen. I could do that in real time probably. Let's see here. Let's go to the webpage for Team Salvato. I know this is not visible. But I'm doing it. Hopefully this won't take too long. About Us page. So the staff is Dan, Alicia, Cynthia, Steven, Joseph, Valinquent, Sachi, and... Okay. So according to the About Us page for Team Salvato, these characters that we see here, they are fictional characters, and he didn't actually do self-inserts of the staff of Team Salvato. Although that would have been more interesting. So let's play a side story. I may only get through one since I recorded all that stuff for half an hour. Hopefully next time I'll have something more to share, but maybe not. I don't know if MatPat's made it through all that because I haven't watched his stuff because I'm playing this myself. I wonder if he has. He probably has. He probably looks up the answers, honestly. Okay, now to do some more of the control simulation. Am I bothering you? This is kind of a double entendre fourth wall break, I'm assuming. No. Like, I know she's talking to Yuri, but intentionally starts out with, am I bothering you? Okay, just checking. It's hard to tell since you always look so into it when you're reading. It makes me scared to interrupt. Well, it's within my expectations to be interrupted when I read here. It's mainly when I'm by myself that I don't like it. That makes sense. I guess if you're here in the first place, then you're more ready to socialize, even if it takes a little bit of prodding. Why would you use this many words for this? What were you going to bother her about, Monica? It's not so bad to be social if I let others do the work. So it can be healthy to put myself in a social environment every now and then. It's like, let's talk about, or need to talk about what we gotta talk about. It's mostly difficult when I don't know anyone, or there are too many people, or everyone is being too silly for me to keep up with. Now, I relate to that. Yuri glances across the room at Sayori and Natsuki. Sayori has her head cocked back and her mouth open, trying to catch pieces of a cookie that Natsuki is lobbing into the air, but the pieces keep bouncing off her face and hitting the floor. Maybe I should say something. No need, they just ran out of cookie. What a waste. They've really become good friends, haven't they? I'm happy. Sayori seems particularly good at making that happen. But the two of them are both on the energetic side, so I suppose it works out well. Notice they've developed this character interaction dynamic where Monica likes to kind of vent at Yuri. Yuri and Monica talk. But ever since the, the second side story where Yuri is introduced, Sayori is kind of like, and Natsuki are kind of on their own little world. It's like the tall girls and the short, with long hair, and the short girls with the short hair. Just kind of segregate that way. Also, I wonder what Yuri's right ear looks like. Yeah, come to think of it, you and I haven't had many chances to talk one-on-one, have we? That's, well, a lot of the dialogue from the third side story was that, actually. Though that may be partially my fault, since I'm supposed to be the one engaging club members. Not at all. I've probably formed a habit of drawing minimal attention to myself. Except my hair color. The responsibility is equally on me, at least to display some openness to engage. That's the thing with anime hair. Like, it looks, with that kind of art style, it looks great. It's long been found out that for anime art styles, weirdly colored eyes and blue hair in particular, maybe purple hair is similar to blue hair, looks really good. Real people with blue hair. Well, not that necessarily looks bad or anything, but it doesn't have the effect that anime blue hair has. It doesn't, like when an anime character has blue hair, it just kind of looks normal. You don't really think about how they have blue hair until you think about how they have blue hair. If you see a person with blue hair, it stands out. It's like, whoa, their hair is blue. What about during times like lunch? Do you meet up with friends? I just read. Oh. But I like it that way. It's nice to be carried off again after a morning of classes. Well, you could do your homework, Yuri. Do you always read fantasy? Oh, not always. Sometimes I read horror. I suppose it's all I've read recently, but only because I'm in the middle of this series. There's still 2 more books after this one. I guess those long books suit you well since you spend so much time reading. Well, fantasy may be my favorite, but after that, I'm more or less indiscriminate to genres. I'll read anything with depth and maturity. Okay. Have you considered reading Gravitation by Misner, Thorne, and Wheeler? Oh yeah? Even like romance? Well, there are a lot of books that have elements of romance in them. Oh, come on, Yuri, you know what I mean. Monica lowers her voice. It's a guilty pleasure of mine, so I won't tell anyone if you do too. Maybe more when I was in middle school. I mean, I was really lonely. People were mean to me a lot. So I just kind of felt like, please don't make me think about the past. Sorry, I just got super curious. You know, we should totally pick out a romance novel to read. That would be so much fun. Absolutely not. Really? Even if it was just between us? For asking someone who has no shame. Like Natsuki. Ouch. Sorry, I swear I didn't mean that. Natsuki comes over and socks her right in the... Well, I guess it was my fault for pressing you. I'm like that for things in my past too. You know, things I feel too embarrassed to re-experience. Yeah, all the time I spent before I was... Basically, when I was in elementary school, has all been wasted, all been flushed down the proverbial pot. There's nothing wrong with growing out of things, it happens to everyone. Unless it's bionicle, then not allowed. For instance, Natsuki's interest in manga reminds me quite a bit of how intense I used to be about my own interests. You still are intense. It makes me think that she'll likely grow out of it too. Hey, are you talking about me? Hey, were you talking about me? Well, I was not warmed up for that at all. Hey, were you talking about me? That was better. No, we were just talking about you. We were just talking about how our interests have changed over the years. And using you as an anecdote for it. When did you get into manga, Natsuki? Like a couple years ago, I guess. I was already sort of into it before that, but I wasn't really going hard until then. Oh yeah, what was it that inspired you to get more into it? I don't know. I guess, let me think. It was after I discovered a series that I really liked. Yeah, I was just like really fed up with a lot of things, and I got super into this one series that I really related to. I guess I had an edgy phase where I just hated everyone around me and wanted to be by myself. Hey, kinda like Yuri. Monica. Sorry. We're trash talking like boys do. That's completely wrong, so... It's still cool that you both really found your thing. They're almost like opposites, but it sounds like they helped you a lot through hard times. You know it. Wow, what the heck? Is that book even bigger than the last one you were reading? It's technically slightly longer, but not by very much. How high do you think it would go if you stacked up the whole series? The paper's just thick. Natsuki estimates by holding her hand high above her head, sizing up an imaginary stack. I should get one of those mangas that's 50 volumes long, so that I can say I've read more than you. Ha 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 ha. But the text is less dense. Not that I have the money for that. Please, that would hardly count when your books only have a few words per page. I know, I was just joking. I could never actually read books like yours. It's too boring for me. Yuri shoots a glare at Natsuki. It's not boring. I don't know why I read that like that. Chill. All I said for me, not for you. I have my own opinion. I just think it's too convoluted. Sayori, are those from the floor? And with this, I'm going to do another awkward cutoff, and we'll pick up right here in the next recording.